We are here very, very proud to work in this sector, the jewelry, the filiera jewelry. For us it's an important event, and it's an event not important only for us, but we want to be an international platform. For this reason, the show is not just a meeting of business, but is a more wide event. We want to support any filiera we work to, in this case, this filiera, working to workshop, to networking, in this case, to see the future. We have an independent observatory dedicated to the jewelry sector, and for this reason, every year we produce a book, Trendbook, dedicated to jewelry, and we want to anticipate the way of the future of this sector. We work strongly with Paola De Luca for many years, and she is the founder and the director creative of Trendvision and Jewellery forecasting. And this year, the new idea is not just to give a presentation, but we have a networking to discuss together about the idea of our future. So, thank you again, and I leave it to Paola to continue this interesting session.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, it is my honor and pleasure to welcome Linn Yaeger to be our moderator today. Thank you, which she came from New York. She has an incredible career, contributing editor for Vogue America and many other things. Recently won a very important award. So I thank you, Linn, and that I pass the microphone to you. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this new format of our discussion of trends. I hope everyone likes it and we have fun. Let me introduce the panel. We have, of course, the fabulous Paola De Luca, the queen of trends, the founder and creative director of Trendvision Jewellery. And now the phone went away. Okay, the phone's back. Okay, you can see what the morning is going to be like. We also have Alba Cappellieri, who is the full professor of jewelry and fashion accessory design at the Milan Polytechnic University. And we have the lovely Katerina Perez, who is the founder and editor-in-chief of her wonderful Instagram with billions of followers who love to look at pictures of jewelry, and I'm one of them. And lastly, we have my dear friend, the inimitable Kulchinsky Levison, the Vice President and Chief Style Officer and Curator of Mayfair Rocks, and a real Vicenzaoro icon. So let's get started. I think the very first person to tell us about what's going on in Trendland is Paola, because she has been putting out the book since 2002, and the new one is just launched, and we want to hear all about how you feel about how things have changed since you started to do the book, and also what do you think the meaning and the concept of trends is at the moment?
No, I think I have my own microphone. Thank you. Thank you, Linn, for the question.
So then do I not need this also?
No, no, you don't.
I don't?
No, you
Okay,
don't.
good.
No, you don't. I gave it to you. I don't know why, but I guess it was a
Because
symbol.
it's a nice prop. It looks good.
It was cool. It's fantastic.
Keeps your ring.
Well,
Yeah.
first of all, I thank you for the question. I think that what's the most important thing is creating these events, and what really makes the difference nowadays is connecting the consumer with the market. In the past, and most of people in the audience, including Lawrence and many others, know that this sector is very close-minded. It used to be very traditional, and still is in a way. And the truth is, today, thanks to digital era, everything is extremely connected. So what really changed is, in the last 20 years, but not only, it's really like having a direct dialogue with consumers. So either we're going to have a very interesting conversation about what trends are, or for each of us. But what I mean by trend is a prevalent trend of the market, which are not necessarily associated to jewelry, but visions, value, emotional value of consumers. So today in the web, and then also why we have Katerina and of course, all the important panelists that we have today, it's really understanding the diversity of communities, and by community I mean different vision, values, from the activist to the bohemian to whatever. These people are consumers. What do these people wear? This is the most important thing. So the concept of trends is not just saying the hoop is in or the stackable are out and vice versa, but really giving a gift and the lenses, the spectacle to the retailers, which they are not all gifted like Lauren or others, to really have the eye on what's the moment or what's hot for this particular consumer. Could be something very inexpensive, could be something extremely expensive. But that's what trends are for me today.
Okay. So, Lauren, I know you don't even like the word trends. You told me you like the word moments.
I do like the word moments.
So tell me, where do these moments come from? Do they come from people looking at pictures of celebrities? Do they come from the street? Do they come from street photographers? Do they come from some strange cultural mood that's floating around? What do you see? How do you see this?
So I have a few different points of view on this. Coming from a family business of 4 generations, I don't like to use the word trend because I like to rotate in the jewelry box. So I feel that as a retailer, if you say the word trend, if it trends, it can trend out. And if you want to be selling high-level jewelry, you want to say words like timeless and classic and heritage and heirlooms, and you can pass things down, and investments in love and passion and being a storyteller. So you want to be able to tell people that this is the time to wear it and this is how to wear it, and then use pictures of celebrity. And I have experience in that. I was the earliest sourcer and stylist for TV shows. So you can pull from that and say, this is how we're showing it on this show, or the Oscars, or the Emmys, or the Golden Globes, or the MTVs. Know your audience, know who you're speaking to. If you're speaking to a young person, you can say this is how they're wearing it on the street. And there's ways that the street happens. It can happen from, inexpensive on the beach to, haute couture, and the street photographers are photographing a woman 10 times and it's being editorialized. So use your imagination and know your audience. But, one of my favorite icons in the world always said the last stage before tacky is trendy. So be careful how you use the word. Trends are important.
Tacky is good too.
Yeah, tacky is a great word.
Tacky can be fun.
It can be, but be careful when you use the word trend. Trend is important in fashion, but it can also hurt a sale. So as a retailer and a wholesaler, you may want to use the word very carefully. I love the word mood, or chapter, or time, or moment. Be more creative with the word.
Also, I think one of the big differences is that unlike trends in fashion, I think we all know when you buy something and you get it home and you don't like it anymore, if it's a coat or a dress, it has no value. You spend $2,000 for it, you'd be lucky if you get $200 for it the next day. That is not the case with jewelry.
No, also,
jewelry has an intrinsic value that far transcends trends.
Also, I've said it before, like my family left Russia in a very uncertain time in the 1800s.
Did they have jewelry stuffed in their
We
corsets?
didn't have Birkins. we didn't leave with a rack of couture. We left with gems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Katerina, I wanted to ask you your own personal story of how you came to be a jewelry Instagrammer, and what still excites you? What still looks so beautiful to you and makes your heart beat when you're looking at jewelry?
Well, first of all, I see jewelry as a form of art. So whenever I look at a piece of jewelry, what excites me is how the designer had a story, that had their vision, and they translated it into something you can touch, because our idea is only known to us, right? And then you see a form of art in a miniature, like a miniature sculpture, right? So for me, design is very exciting. And also what I love about jewelry, that it connects people. Can you hear me well? Yes. It really connects people, and what I mean by that, for example, in what I do, showing jewelry online through my website and social media, when I have a person who's been following me and they tell me, oh my God, thanks to you, like I'm a big fan of jewelry now, or I went to do a JA course, or, you know, in a way, if I can inspire them, this is also for me to do it through the means of jewelry. So it's the beauty, it's the message, is of course also the emotional value of jewelry. Because I personally look at it not just as, I don't know, diamonds and gold, but also...
What do you want right now? What are you thinking about when the other panelists are talking? What piece of jewelry are you thinking about?
The eye?
Me too. Oh my God, the eye.
All of
know.
us.
Oh, the eye is
course,
unbelievable. I know. Okay, well, I saw it first. Not really.
There you go.
Paola saw it first. So, Alba, can you tell us a little bit? You have such a vast background in curation and academia. How do you tell us a little bit about the interplay between history and jewelry?
Yeah, thank you, Lynn. I truly believe in culture. I think that culture is essential for understanding not just jewelry, of course, but for understanding the different context of jewelry. Paola was mentioning diversity of consumers, but of course, diversity exists also for jewelry. So when we established with Fiera di Vicenza the Museum of Jewelry here at the Palladian Basilica, the first question I made myself is which kind of jewelry we want to transfer to the visitors. And I realized that jewelry as a unique definition rather than as a universal does not exist. There are different contexts, there are different meanings, there are different values related to jewelry. This is the reason why at the Museum of Jewelry we have included 9 different rooms related to the 9 different meanings of jewelry. So if we are looking for inspirations, first of all, we should ask ourselves, which kind of jewelry are we looking for? Which kind of values we want to find in a jewelry? I'm amazed by your replies that both of you were thinking at the eye, because the eye is a typical 18th century jewelry. So we are talking about the future starting from 18th century jewelry. So I truly believe in culture, and culture means the knowledge of history. If we know history, we can find inspiration for the future. And this is not just in terms of aesthetics, not just in terms of shapes, but we can fully understand the stories behind. Katerina, in her Instagram, she presents beautiful pictures. And what I think is really interesting is the link between the visuals to the context and to all the contents behind a visual. So my suggestion is looking for beautiful pictures, but also try to figure out what is behind the picture in terms of contents and in terms of history. That's it, in terms of culture.
I think that's... I think that's why it's so important to have a jewelry with a story, right? When a client, for example, if we talk retail, a client comes to the store, it presents more value for them when they buy a piece of jewelry, not just for the beauty, but for the interesting story that they can connect with. Maybe it means something just to them, and that's what will make the purchase, not the big carat diamond or something like that,
That's
right?
why Italian jewelry is so special. It's all passion, and it's all selling from the heart, and it's all stories.
Also for me, because I'm such an antiques person, first of all, I know I've bought things because of the box and the name of the old store on the box. And also any kind of inscription inside the piece for me is really magical and really, I mean, that's a very explicit way of knowing the story of something or being able to imagine more about the story. You know, and people would always say to me, but don't you think it's creepy to have hair or something because the person's dead. But of course, everyone that owned my jewelry before is dead. So, you know, that's how I think of it. Lauren, I wanted to ask you a little bit about, I was interested a few minutes ago when we were talking about this very, very high-end customer, and I said, isn't she a very conservative, or he, a very conservative customer, and you said just the opposite.
No, they're
Tell
not
the
conservative.
kids what you told me.
The most exciting client that spends the most money is not conservative. The conservative client has inherited most of their jewelry, or they're just interested in very large gems or very large pearls, or they're the conservative client. The most, I mean, Paula will remember, the most exciting time in jewelry was when Stefan Hoffner came around and he started bending diamonds. And I think it was Orlando Orlandini, and it was these creative, I mean, Princess Diana had so many of his pieces, right? I mean, there were these creative Italians that came out of the woodwork, and their prices were like, I remember my father saying, how much is this? There's like 23 points of diamonds, and it was like a Brasilia bracelet from Antonini. And like, we sold 20 of them in 2 days, or I found in like, I was telling Will's notebook is here, by the way, from,
We love Will's notebook.
loves
Hi,
Will's notebook. I was telling him the Techno Marine story. I mean, they weren't expensive. They were like $2,000, but they were
I like
plastic
them.
and diamonds. And I
thought
came
they
home.
were major.
I found them in a kiosk at Vicenzaoro in like, I don't know, 98. And we sold so many, and then they raised the price point because they were like, oh my gosh, plastic and diamonds is easier to sell than gold and diamonds. So the culture changes, and the women and the men and the self-purchasing female, I mean, now there's no more holiday season. We buy jewelry all the time for ourselves. Thank you, women and men. And I mean, presents are the least important part of my business. I don't know about anyone. I mean, thank God for birthdays, anniversaries, engagements, but the present
You could
that
buy
you
yourself a present for your
all
birthday.
the time is the most important part of my business. I don't know how many everybody else. People like Katerina makes that really successful because everyone's like, oh my God, I have to touch that and feel that, try that on. Instagram's changed the place as well for responsible people like and editors and museum curators and people doing the right job. But yeah, the conservative client, I don't know, they're not really my client, but they might be yours. But what do you sell? I'd love to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paola, tell us a little more about the book. I didn't mean to give the book short shrift because the publication of the book is exciting. So tell us a little bit more about this particular edition.
About this edition or about Julie?
No, about the 2021.
Well, you know, I actually like what I have to connect to my friend Alba, because that's what Alba made it very simple and very clear. It's about the context, it's about history. And jewelry, if now I have to connect what Katerina said, they have to reflect the modern time. So the reason why, you know, one particular piece of jewelry, whatever she's wearing now, the beautiful geometry that Lauren is wearing, is representing one part of contemporary time. So design evolves and is within a context, and the context is socio-cultural changes, and that's how, as a specialist, I view trends. So the word trend, you can call it whatever you want to classify it, name it, but by trend, we mean like the same usage that you can have in the stock market. We are looking at design directions, metal color like titanium now is strong, but it's not a moment. Titanium will be in for a while, for a long time, because it's about technology changes. Gold is expensive, it's heavier. With titanium, you can achieve larger shapes, bigger shapes, and technology has evolved. Also, colored gemstones are not a trend, even though for like 20 years ago or 15 years ago were a trend. Now they're like mass. Even diamonds, now they are diversifying.
So what is next? You're the forecaster. What's next?
Well, what is next? It's happening. There is nothing like that crazy. I mean, what is next? It's happening now. I mean, it's like, it's not just the jewel itself. It is also the way of distributing. We are perceiving jewelry, digital culture. Even the blogger we will change, that's for sure. Companies are now, they're just starting to be online. And the online, you call it trend, I call it culture, is changing the business. This is changing the business. Many people here, not necessarily this audience, they are not ready yet. They're starting to understand this concept. So when we are talking about trends, again, we are playing with, this is being just intellectual. It's really understanding what's happening. And today, manufacturers, because here Vicenza is, yes, brands, yes, independent designer, but the majority is also manufacturers, makers, and these people need to sell volumes. So when they invest in a machinery, okay, they need to know how many of these can I sell? And cannot just be in a moment, but the moment has to be long. It's a long moment.
But who knows? It's all,
No,
I mean, it's
no,
a crapshoot, as we
no,
say
it's
in
not.
America.
No, it's not. Because,
How
for
do you
instance,
know?
because there are patterns. There
Okay.
are patterns.
Okay.
There are patterns, and these patterns, like in the stock market, like for instance, tubing or flexible tubing, gas tubing, it's back to be hot. Also because of Deco, because of Bulgari started pushing it again, but it's been evolved. And so when Alba mentioned history, one of the very important themes, first of all, history is always there, is what we call the archive of memories and inspiration. It's not really a trend, but the inspiration, and they're often associated to emotional value. So what the Trendbook, this particular Trendbook, but every Trendbook, it's about what's happening now. Activism, we play with the word activism, it's strong. Political turmoil, big changes.
How does that express itself in jewelry? How does political turmoil express itself in jewelry?
Expresses that, first of all, in a new type of minimalism, modernism, enamelism, mismatched jewelry.
Okay.
Not prettiness is not always in.
Okay.
People is not buying more by set, by piece, by item. The mix and match is not about perfection anymore, but imperfection. Actually, imperfection is uniqueness. It's not even, it's one of our last issue was called I'm perfection. We play with the word imperfection by saying we are imperfect because we are perfect, we are unique. Another important theme is ancient wisdom, going back to when, Alba, history in this particular case, from mythology to the 1800s, definitely history is a source of inspiration in this actual time, so that's what's going to start happening. So from the eye, that is not by coincidence we picked the eye, why the lover's eye, Victorian iconic piece, but it's also a surrealistic element, because eyes, it's Salvador Dali to reconnect and surrealism, but the eye is I'm watching you. The big brother of society today. I am watching you, and I'm watching you with jewelry as well.
So what's interesting is also something that we were talking about a little while ago, is about the emergence and reemergence of skulls in jewelry, going back to the beginning of time. Because Lauren is wearing a beautiful, tell us about your beautiful...
It's Lydia Cortell. It's articulated, which she has been doing forever. It's a skull, a full skeleton. Skulls represent the celebration of life.
Well,
it's not a negative
no,
thing.
and also, well, and it's also a reminder that that we will pass on. I mean, it's always.
I just love this because it keeps me from eating too much. Speaking about perfection.
Now, let me tell you a nice story about my students about the skull, because one day I was in my class asking for, guys, what do you think about skulls in jewelry? And they said, oh, we know this. It were by Alexander McQueen. It was an Alexander McQueen invention. And I say, are you joking? Skulls are coming from the Middle Ages, are coming from the Renaissance. And you cannot understand Alexander McQueen or even Damien Hirst with this diamond skull if you don't know Memento Mori. So if you look at history with contemporary eyes, this is essential because we do not need to copy the past. We can find many inspirations. My last inspiration coming from history was the Medusa, the Gorgone with the snake's head. And looking back at paintings, there is an amazing Caravaggio painting and also a Rubens painting by the Medusa. I understood the Damien Hirst sculpture for the Venice Biennale. So I really think we can go further, starting from some symbols and visuals coming from the past.
So we were having a very lively discussion in the little press room before we came here about whether trends even exist, whether the word trend is a horrible word. Lauren, is the word trend a horrible word?
No, it's not 4 letters. It's okay. You know, I buy jewelry differently. Everybody buys jewelry differently. I love history. I believe in history. If you don't know your history, it's bound to repeat itself. But in fashion, it's great to repeat yourself because you can use your clothes again. But I mean, we always want new. I buy from my store from watching fashion. So you put the book out so scientifically. You forecast, you look to the whole world to see what is going on, and you're able to look years ahead. I look from fashion week to fashion week, and then I buy in between. So if it's a high neckline year, to me, that means long earrings. If it's a long wrist or tight wrist year, it means to me one large bracelet. If it's no sleeves, it's lots of little bracelets. If it's tunics or low cuts, it's many, many necklaces. If it's tight, there's like, I'll take ropes and ropes of pearls and wear them around my waist. If it's a stocking year, you better stock up on anklets. If that to me is knowing history of fashion and buying jewelry accordingly. That's how I look at what to buy for my shop. And the clients I have, that's why they come to me, because they all go to things where they need these kind of jewels. It depends on what kind of store you are and how you want to interpret this amazing book, which I have been reading for, I don't want to say how long I know Paula.
A few years.
A few years, maybe my first edition. It's how I've read Linn's work for, I don't want to say how long. It's how you interpret what we say, and who is not right or wrong. It's just what works for you. So is trend a dirty word? For me, I hate the fucking word trend. I'm sorry. I will not use it. I will fire someone for using it. So yes.
Are you going to fire Paola for using
No, I
it?
love Paula. I'm half Sicilian, half Russian. I'm a little fiery.
So, Katerina,
like that.
do you look at the runway as well, or are you just operating on the kind of sphere of pure emotion? How are you putting together your stories?
For me, of course, it's important to know the trends, so I do trend reviews, but I tend to highlight the trends on my website in deep articles rather than on Instagram. Instagram really is my visual diary, something that I saw, something that spoke to me, invoked some emotions in me. A piece of jewelry is a form of art, which the world needs to know. Basically, it's my virtual gallery of the best of jewels out there. When I see the jewel, I don't think of the trend, but when I want to wear a jewel myself, then occasionally I would relate to the trend more than what I have in my jewelry wardrobe.
And Alba, do you see in the history in the way that women wore jewelry, do you see trends as a very viable thing, or do you think that the jewelry transcends the notion of trends?
I think there are always trends. And right now, I'm fascinating and I'm very curious about the relationship between jewelry and fashion, because you were mentioning that you used to watch at fashion show, and this is extremely important, but I'm sure you will remember that until 10 years ago, not too long, the relationship between high and fine jewelry and fashion was extremely controversial, because it was just a matter of values, because fine jewelry goes for eternity, while fashion goes for ephemeral.
And fashion has to change or you won't buy it
Yes,
again.
but right now, every maison of high jewelry is looking at fashion. And this is a trend. And this means that something is changing. This means that beauty can be part of the value story. And right now, I'm doing a research on Van Cleef & Arpels jewelry. Of course, they are very high jewelry, but looking at their 70s jewelry, They were fashionable at all.
Yes, it's funny, even when you look at like Cartier, it's so shocking
Yeah.
to see that they did like a wood watch and they did
Yes.
things in the 70s
This
that are
is
so,
fashion.
they are
So-
so funny and so
But
witty.
they refused to use the word fashion.
Yeah.
So I think this is culture, and this is trends, and I think that it's very important to understand the historical moment just for decoding the values and the meanings in every object.
Can I add to this?
Oh,
What I've-
please. My pleasure.
I think what's really changes is the way that women see jewelry and the way that they use them to express themselves, to style jewelry. If you look back 10 years ago, right, jewelry was not a part of a wardrobe. It
Look
was
at
an
men,
occasion
too.
piece.
Add men.
Exactly.
Men
Yeah.
came back to jewelry. They wore it first, and now they're wearing it again really well.
10 years ago, not 100.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an occasion piece for a special event. You wouldn't wear diamonds during the day. There was a rule of diamonds after 6 o'clock or whatever. Now we wear jewelry to express ourselves, to show our beauty, to make ourselves feel great. I don't know how about you in the audience, but I love wearing fine jewelry every day. It gives me a woo effect, you know? So why to keep this away for a special day when you can feel great all the time?
And it's also what you were saying about buying jewelry for yourself, which is a really big shift also. And I mean, I remember talking to the buyers in Bergdorf Goodman, because that's my idea of like a fun afternoon, is go and harass the buyers, because I know I'm not going to buy anything. But we were talking about how much a woman, this was some years ago, and they said it was between like $2,000 and $4,000 was the amount that a woman, if she felt sad and the clothes didn't fit her and she wanted to buy herself a present, that's what she would spend in the jewelry department. More than that, her husband or the man in her life might say, what the hell is this on the bill? And less than that, they couldn't really find like the most beautiful piece of fine jewelry. But it was really interesting to me that it used to be, I feel like it used to be more like shoes and handbags that would cheer yourself up if the clothes looked terrible. Well, lipstick on a whole other level, lipstick. But for something special, I feel like that's really expanded into jewelry and nobody feels funny or sad to buy it for herself. So that's like a really big change. I think it would be great to hear from the audience if people wanted to ask questions or tell us what you think about things.
David.
David.
David Graf, I'm just wondering the panel's views on how economics and markets affect trends.
This is a very...
Touring gold
Bravo.
and the lab-grown diamonds, for example, are going to be cheaper and cheaper potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a lab-grown diamond set in gold that costs a lot more than, it's a very strange situation.
I don't believe in lab-grown anything. I think it's like
Well,
GMO food. I won't
Well,
carry it.
Actually-
I won't believe it. I'd rather go out of business than
Well,
than sell it.
actually,
Paola?
yes. Actually, David, we know that we are, facing this, conversation often. It was recently in London, same conversation was done at Couture. Actually, Stephen Webster is now working on a project with Nadia Swarovski on lab-grown diamonds. And what I love that, Stephen said during that talk is about, it's new. It's something, it's like right now there is some kind of animosity and people, even me at the beginning I was skeptical. Lab-grown diamonds will not compromise the positioning of natural diamonds, also because they will, end sooner or later. I mean, from De Beers to Alrosa to Rio Tinto closing their Argyle mine in Australia, also is already, Sotheby's like the other day when you had the talk in London, we're saying that, colored diamonds are increasing their value because the Argyle diamonds is actually the pink and the yellow are actually becoming more and more rare. So lab-grown diamonds will be interpreted and used with a different approach. It is in development. The fact that they are iconic designers and we call it visionary, like Stephen, among others, that they are working on this concept culturally, it's very meaningful. And I wouldn't be against actually lab-grown diamonds. I would embrace it. The most important thing that has to be done to make it clear at retail level what's lab-grown and what's natural. Once there is this clarity, because people is buying Swarovski crystals, and they're buying cubic zirconia, and they're buying diamonds. And the truth is they're mix and matching. We are using Lauren made the example of plastic and diamonds, which is bakelite in diamonds, and even René Lalique mixed in the early 1900s non-precious with precious. So it's a cultural revolution. It's still, this sector is conservative. Right now they are debating, but at the end of the day, that's the market.
Well, I don't know. Look what happened with cultured pearls and natural pearls. I mean, you don't see a lot of natural pearls.
We'll talk in a few years. How's that?
There's no nutrition in the food anymore because people started making GMO food. If we start doing lab-grown diamonds, there will be no value.
Well, it started, so.
No, but there's people like us talking can keep it from getting too big.
I don't know. Can you tell us a little more in history of these kind of revolutionary changes in technology or are there other examples?
Yeah, there are many examples. And I love jewelry because it intersects many different stories and histories. We can read jewelry according to the history of women. We can read jewelry according to the history of technologies, of materials, of shapes, and of aesthetics. Going back to David's question, I was very fascinated. 2 days ago, just 2 days ago, there was a news where the former designer by Apple, Ivy, both with the Campana brothers, they are the best Brazilian designers, they put on the market a lab-grown diamond from 52 carats of one single piece. So my question is, if lab-grown diamonds are related to fashion rather than to mass market, why the best designers in the world coming from Apple and coming from Brazil, like the Campana brothers, they put together their energies and their talents for having a single new diamonds. So I'm very curious and I'm very fascinated. I definitely will not approve lab-grown diamonds just as an economical solution for precious diamonds or natural diamonds. And also, I do not believe in terms of sustainability for lab-grown diamonds. Lab-grown diamonds are much, much more invasive, rather
much
And
more.
it's interesting
Like
because-
fake fur.
Absolutely.
Because
Like
the
for-
claim
yes.
that was made originally was that they were
They
so-
are not.
They are not.
It has been proved that they are not in terms of energies, in terms of job. So they are not green at all.
No.
They are not sustainable.
Correct.
But they can be
cheap,
very
I agree with that.
interesting in terms of design. They can offer some possibilities that at the moment nature does not offer yet.
Katerina, do you have feelings about lab-grown? If you fell in love with the piece and the designer said to you, well, it's lab-grown, I have to tell you the truth before I sell it to you.
I say it's like being a vegetarian, right? It's your personal choice. I can't say I'm against it. Again, this depends on the person, but personally, I don't want to feature lab-grown diamonds. For me, this is it doesn't have the same value. It doesn't speak to me. So, but whatever we say, it will all be up to the consumer, right? If there is demand, if the consumer is passed the wrong message, and very often in lab-grown advertisement, there are wrong messages, or messages which are in favor of the seller. If there is demand from the consumer, then the story will continue. If the right message is passed and no one wants to buy lab-grown diamonds, then you see, it's not up to us, I
everyone will
think.
buy lab-grown diamonds. I think the engagement ring girl who can get the great big lab-grown and then the littler natural diamond will like that great big lab-grown. I just think that. I don't know.
Yeah, but look, it's meat eaters and vegetarians coexist, so I think it's exactly the same situation.
Okay. I think it's a little bit like print and digital, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I mean,
exactly.
It's a very fluid situation. It was a very, to me, the lab-grown, it kind of, I don't know, probably much more experienced people in the audience knew more, but for me, it just sort of came as like a bolt out of the blue a couple of years ago. And it was kind of, I mean, so far I haven't seen, I've seen some interesting pieces with lab-grown, but design-wise, so far, I haven't seen really brilliant pieces yet. You have, so that's interesting to me. Yeah, it's a very volatile and a kind of amazing turn of events, you know?
Lynn, the message I would like to deliver to the audience is that the world and jewelry is not black and white, but there are many shades in gray. And the idea is that, for example, handmade versus machine-made, it's not a problem, because we know that even the most important fine jewelry maison, they use both. They use 3D printing for modeling, and they use handmade for finishing. So it's not one versus another one. We need to understand and fully explore the possibilities of both.
Sono d'accordo.
More questions?
Can you introduce yourself, please? Thank you.
Sorry, my name is Archana. I work with In Detail, an online jewelry magazine based out of London. I have a question for you on retail. Everyone's speaking about the consumer experience and developing that experience for the consumer, and the demands are so high today. What are some of the most important things you identify as a retailer about connecting with your consumer and sort of taking them through this age where everyone's speaking about developing and delivering a more, sort of, exciting experience for the consumer?
It's a very good question. So I'm a family business. Only my family takes care of our clients. We always have. Our support staff handles the things in the back. About
So how many
10
people are in your family to do all
Not enough.
Okay.
That's why we only have 3 stores. Our East Hampton location is only open 10 weeks a year. It's not a pop-up. We just, that's the way we
But
do it.
that's how it always was.
Always
And
was,
Always
always
was, and then
was.
it changed, but
Always was like that since 1971. We're open 10 weeks a year, and it's only our family, and it's a resort experience, so you can come in off the beach and enjoy time, and it's always been like
Make a lot of money when
cocktail
it's raining?
experience. No, because people don't come to the beach. We make a lot of money when it's too hot and they can't sit on the beach.
okay. I knew there was a weather connection.
So our main location, we changed 4 years ago to a by appointment store. And we took a warehouse space, gutted it, and made a beautiful lounge type experience that when we have a personal appearance with a designer, we literally do a takeover. And it turns into Stephen did we were talking about Stephen Webster all the time. Stephen did one, Antonini did one. They came in, they turned it into their store with their sticker, with everything, their branding. And it turns into that space for like a week. And then all of the collectors of that come in, they buy, they shop. I've done people's bridal showers. We've had engagement parties where someone will propose in the store and then it turns into the party right after. I mean, we've done like wild things, but this is after being in business since 1927. We were able to shift. And what we did, and you always...
Do you have a big safe with the jewelry from 1927 in it?
We don't do antiques, Lynn.
I had a moment, I'm sorry.
So I suggest that anyone who's in brick and mortar look into either having a viewing room that's for VIPs
So
or private,
smart.
or changing it up a bit. Take the time. Fire some clients. It's important. People that just come in price shopping. People who just come in because, I never wore this. You haven't seen them in 25 years and it's broken, but they never wore it. That client you don't need anymore. Tell them to go, that you love them, you're so happy to see them, but you really don't think they fit your mold anymore. Don't be afraid.
Can't do that.
I did it.
Oh my God.
I did it, and I'm making more money than I ever have. There's no, it's not, seriously, because what's happening because of digital landscape.
Someone's going to fire me. I don't buy anything.
I'll hire you, Lynn.
I'm going to get fired as a
Digital
client.
landscape has changed a lot of things. You don't want your partners to use you as a showroom and then sell to them privately. Okay, it's happening. Not you, Lydia, but it's happening. People are saying, that's when your partner is telling you, your partner means your wholesaler. When they're saying, tag me on Instagram. Well, guess what? All of your clients are going to their page on Instagram and they're following them. And you know what? There's a little thing if you push on it and the price is there. and then you can buy it from them. And here you are giving them real estate space in your expensive real estate store. You're spending all this time showing it to them. You're not discounting because no one discounts in this room. And then all of a sudden, they're not buying it from you because why? They want to buy it from the designer who's giving them friends and family because they're buying it from the designer who doesn't have to hit the retail mark because they can hit the wholesale mark.
That?
How do you stop it? You fire those customers who are price shoppers and pains in the asses. Okay. And you just keep, it's not the more the better, it's the better the better. You keep the clients that are your clients and you grow because those clients are going to tell their friends and who you're getting the best experience from. That's experience shopping today. Reward them with great service, good times, fun, parties.
Do you
will have a
buy
better
for
time.
a particular client? Have you, because
I
I
buy
know.
for me, because if I don't sell it, I keep it.
But are there also clients that when you see something, you're like, he or she, I think, is the,
Yes.
like for special
I
pieces,
buy
you would.
for people in mind.
Okay.
And then like things that are working at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So questions?
You're welcome.
Questions?
Questions floating around?
Domanda?
Good morning. I'm Alessio Boschi. I want to congratulate, first of all, for all of you for what you said, because it's been, for me, one of the most interesting meetings I ever assist with. From the synthetic diamond, lab diamond confusion that is going on in our business, to firing the customer that we don't like, guys, really, to the history, of course, of jewelry, which is my passion and how I build up my own entire company. And Katerina, thank you to be an ambassador for all of us. I want to ask you one question. How do you think in terms of service, future service of our customer, of our clients? Of course, we have a different segments, so commercial is different from luxury. But what do you think it would be the right approach? Because personally, I believe the personal approach, the artistic approach is the one that win me compared to other brands. But I want to hear also your opinion, if you have new ideas, except the media, except the bloggers. Thank you.
Paola, what do you think is going on with this?
Well, you know, I'd like to speak to it because we have a diverse audience, and I'd like to also cater to, you know, the manufacturers and people needs to do, you know, the middle market, the medium-high market, not only the high market, which, you know, Alessio is in and also Lauren is in. Of course, Lauren, I think, is a great example of, she's really like her family and the way they run in the business in terms of, you know, embracing their client, understanding their client, being innovative, creating, you know, fun experiences, or just like intense experience, inviting the creative like you are, and you do that very often. It is something. So the concept of, like for instance, I don't like service, the word service, but because we are not serving, let's say sharing, you know, sharing with, embracing your client. So either you are high-end or jewels, and then in particular case, you create this particular moment. And you're very good, Alessio, at that, because you do incredible one-of-a-kind pieces. You are able to sell. You are not fourth generation in business, so you are first generation, and you are amazing what you have achieved. And the reason why you do it, because you travel all over the world, you sit with your clients, you listen to your clients, you custom made for your client. That is sharing, listening, and really embracing. The same concept though has to be translated to the other businesses, because this fair is not just about one of a kind. And unfortunately, sorry for you guys, is not paying the bills, only one of a kind, you know, of the large manufacturers and the works and the economy in Italy or elsewhere. So, but at the end, it's the same, it's about service. But what does it mean, service? It means design and research. I think not enough companies are investing in design and research. If we don't like the word trends, let's call it directions. Let's call it design directions. Let's call it movements. Movement like futurism is a movement. Modernism is a movement. Art Deco was a movement. So, but Art Deco is been strong for the last 2 decades and is an evolution of Deco from the 20s and 30s, took it to the new millennium because it's parallel to the 1920s of the previous centuries to these centuries, going back to my friend Alba Cappellieri, just to make historical references. Services also being online and finding a balance between not overlapping with the retailer, because if you are, let's say, diversifying, I don't think there is anything bad from a designer to go directly to consumers. But they should not disturb their partners. And if a partner is Mayfair, which they did a great job and they helped to develop their name, you have to honor and celebrate these people. At the same time, I don't see anything wrong with you posting online and maybe selling your bracelet, but shouldn't be the same bracelet. So you should basically create maybe a collection. And this is the line. This is where the controversy comes in. The controversy comes in when the line blurs. It's like what's online, what's offline. So this is what I call developing a digital culture. And the digital culture translates into being live. How the offline goes into analog life in the offline. So we shouldn't overlap this world because we are going to interfere with the strong partners. But at the same time, I think that the designers and the manufacturers should go to directly to consumers. Why not? Why not being vertical? It's a revolution. But then, of course, you need the partners. But that's different. The partner is different, has to be respected because it does a different job. So if in one sentence, what does it mean service? What does it mean sharing? For the middle market and the lower market means different things. Technology is also embracing. They understand? There are many elements. There is no, it's like when you do like, and I want to go back to the Trendbook. The Trendbook is not a solution. The Trendbook is a book. You can take it, it doesn't matter if you read the book or understand the book. Also today the Trendbook is the result of many people collaborating. It's not my book. It's Alba book, it's Katerina book, it's Lawrence book. It's every editor, they collaborate. If I had something, I had a vision, and I'm glad that I'm sharing it, and I'm here because of I had this vision. But at the end of the day, it's not important. But the methodology is very important. It's the vision, it's the application that we have to have. That's it.
I see you're nodding. Would you like to add something?
I think the future is about experiences with the client. Like, I love the way, as we were talking, you take your client on a journey to understand your art and to sell jewel through letting them experience how you do it. But also I noticed that, for example, if we talk about retailers or brands, there is more and more events happening and different worlds merge. Like there is lots of joint events of fashion and jewelry coming together to interact, right? And also talking about the future, like there is new way of selling through. Now there is, in the development, there is this app where you can virtually try pieces of jewelry. So I think it's all about showing jewelry in a new way, innovating how you can entertain your client, because it's all about the experience. It's not just a transaction anymore.
Yes.
I think we have time for one more question.
I just want to say, on a designer point of view, if you're ever in Paris, you should stop into Lydia's store. It's in the Place Vendôme, because it's, as a designer space.
It's fun. I've been in there.
As a designer space, it's her world.
Fun store.
And it's you don't feel like you're in a store. You're just in her brain. You're in her imagination. And I respect that. That's an entirely different way of doing something. Even on a retailer, you can just make your brain. It's such a great way to do it. You don't need a big space and a experience and a kitchen. You could just make your brain and make someone feel like they're part of you. That's another great way to do it.
Brava Lidia.
So, one more question?
Esther. That's okay.
We have the microphone.
We hear you.
So you can hear me. I've lost my voice. But
Esther Ligar, very important blogger also, I'd like to say that.
thank you,
Ciao,
Paola,
Esther.
thank you. And my compliments for you as well. Generation Z is coming. And we all love to talk about very high-end jewelry, most of us. But there is, of course, the reality that most of the jewels are in the middle and lower class.
Yeah.
What do you think, in terms of trends, in terms of directions, is important for the next generation? So Generation Z, what is important for them, and what should designers keep in mind when designing for the future clients?
You want me to? Who's answering? I can take the question, but you, Lauren, whoever
Everyone
you
can
want.
answer.
Everyone should answer that.
Now, let me
Katerina
tell you what I
probably knows
suggest
this.
to my students,
Okay.
that they are students in jewelry design at the Polytechnic of Milano. So, writing my text for the Trendbook, I realized that right now, authorship is the new branding. In sense that at the very beginning, jewelry by artists was based on the value of authorship. Alexander Calder jewelry were realized in a very poor material like brass, but the value was in the authorship. That is what's going on now, and this is extremely important for independent designer, young designer, maker, and all the kind of people that cannot afford big communication budget or big retail stores. So, and just for linking your question to Alessio, I think that building an authorship is also a big service for your clients. I think that being recognizable is a big service. And how can you build your authorship? Being coherent, because the mixed salad and the big bowl salad is not more a solution. And extremely being good. My suggestion for my students is being good is the way right now. You can build your own authorship and you can be recognizable by your clients as a good designer.
Sono d'accordo, assolutamente, assolutamente, Alba.
So read my text in the Trendbook on authorship.
In the States, nobody wants to own anything at this generation. They want to rent everything. So I ignore them. And I focus on who wants. No, I just focus on who wants to buy things.
Okay.
And the younger people, like, I mean, Generation X, they told me I would never want to buy anything branded. I'm covered in Fendi. I mean, they were wrong. So every generation has the part of the generation that you can be yourself with, and the more honest you are with who works with you, the more successful you will be with what works for you. Like, everyone was so worried, oh, the millennial, they don't want to buy anything, they don't want to buy anything. Well, I have a lot of millennials that want to buy something. So be positive and don't look at the negative. Generation Z, in my opinion, I think they're all going to come in with their mother and their grandmother's gems, and they're going to want to set it for who they're going to get married to, and they're going to be really into their family's jewelry and reworking it for who they want to be with.
Upcycling,
So
yes.
You focus on what your family, your ethics. You really battle down on who you are. So just like you said, but don't focus on, oh my gosh, nobody's going to want to buy anything, and they're not going to be able to be sold to, because then you're going to get in a mindset that you're going to fail. Always look that my way works, we're going to stay going, and listen to other people, but stay positive.
And I think what Paola was saying was really interesting about people wanting mismatched pieces and the imperfection and the rawness of materials, all of these kind of different considerations, which is informing maybe a younger client.
But this is, I think, is not even new again, because I'm looking at you and I used to mix match stuff from vintage pieces to new pieces. This is, in the past, I remember I used to buy vintage. I was 13, 14 years old in Rome. And then later on in New York, I would go on the street markets and pick up pieces, and I would mix it with, and I would mix Prada or Gucci, and the latest, in a vintage piece, there was like $10, and then fine jewelry. That's the way to go. The high and low, which now is hot,
It's
But it's
completely
been-
unprejudiced in the way that it is with fashion, is also the way that it is with jewelry.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. For instance, I don't call jewelry real or unreal. To me, it's jewelry. It's like, it doesn't matter if it's custom jewelry or fine jewelry. Sometimes I mix and match. They look beautiful, and that's what it, but that's my style. It's a way of styling. That's not the way, it's my way.
Well, I think this was an amazing panel. I want to thank you so
you.
much for participating. It was
Grazie.
wonderful, and thank you,
Thank
wonderful
you.
audience, for coming.
Thank you.
See everybody at the show.
Thank you, Lynn, for making it fun, to make it a cool, controversial,
I make
fun.
it cool.
I love you.
Okay.
Are cool.
Paola, I heard you're selling signing.
You're signing
books. Where are you signing
Yes,
books?
I'm signing book from 12 to 1 p.m. at the bookstore.
Okay.
And you're welcome to come. And
Can we just come and hang with you? And
Oh, we just have cocktails
Okay.
there. How's that? You know.
It's very
Thank
late in
you.
the States. We're ready now.
Thank you.
no, it's earlier in the States.
Later,
Later,
doesn't
earlier. Okay, I think it was good.